The sun rises in the east, but it sets in the west side.
Going up the double. Wolfgang, where you at, man? Shit. Wolfgang, where you at, man?
Mic check, mic check. Microphone check, check. Give me 1 second. Yeah, am I too loud? Am I too low? What's up? I think I should be fine. What's good, everybody? I don't know if I need to bump it up that much. What it good do? What it good do? Everybody, thank you for being here. All right? Thank you for being here, y'all. I appreciate everyone's attention. This is Wolfgang Amadeus in the house. What a good do. Yeah, I just had to wake it up a little bit, and I came in on it a little bit early to just, you already know. Let's get it going with the music. You know. Dewan B, what's up, my G? Dewan B in the house, and yeah. Short answer. Yes, for real. Yeah, y'all, look, it's been an interesting weekend. That's all I really got to say. It's been a very interesting weekend. And what I'm going to do here is just ask questions, just in general. We're going to ask a few questions in regards to this whole situation where new information, new evidence has come out about things that Jaguar Wright has been saying all along. And the new evidence has something to do with this here, where this anti-black Hispanic lady named Desiree Perez, it has come to our attention that her daughter, who is married to a black man, that's why I call her anti-black, because her daughter's married to a black man and she opposes it. And it's in his lawsuit where Desiree Perez called him the N-word, right? Now, there's also some claims where she says she was held against her will. So Jaguar Wright, about what is it, 9 months ago, went on to Piers Morgan Uncensored and made those statements, and Piers Morgan came back and apologized to certain people because she said, and he said none of these claims are valid or, verified, and these certain people were not here to speak for themselves. So he apologized. He censored his uncensored show. Now, when we get new information, obviously, we should be in the business of maybe rethinking the old information that we had, right? So with this new information that has come out, is it time for Piers Morgan to apologize to Jaguar Wright? Like the homie Dewan B said, in short answer, yes. I say hell yes. And I'm just going to, drop some information today just to give the people context into all this situation and all this what we're talking about, because there right now it dropped very late Friday. Let me pull up my notes, because my notes says everything. We're basically talking about the Roc Nation CEO scandal. It's a story so twisted Even Hollywood couldn't script it. So Desiree Perez, her daughter, hostage allegations, abuse, and the quiet panic hitting the top floors of the industry. All right, trust me, heads is about to roll. Most importantly, though, we're gonna ask the question no one in the mainstream media has the guts to ask: is it time for Piers Morgan to apologize to Jaguar Wright? Because when she dropped the truth about these execs, she wasn't just ignored, she was disrespected. Shout out to Vlad, because he went on that same video or that same uncensored podcast and said, yeah, you know, she's a conspiracy theorist. I would never have her on my show. Blah, 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 blah. She was very disrespected. She was mocked. And now the same empire has tried to discredit her is under investigation. So let's pull up. Let's talk about it. That's what time it is right now. But, you know, what's being reported is allegations involving Roc Nation CEO and her daughter. They include disturbing claims of hostage situations, coercion, and abuse. So there's a bunch of news outlets not even really talking about it, but there are a bunch of news outlets that are just dancing around it, but the facts are leaking fast, right? So Miss Wright's original claims was, you know, she warned the world about the corruption and the abuse inside the music industry, right? Specific names she mentioned and how Piers Morgan and other media outlets ridiculed her and ignored her. So what we're going to talk about today. Now, our allegations against Roc Nation and Jay-Z and the internal culture that protects predators. I'm going to play a clip of when she went on to Uncensored, Piers Morgan Uncensored. And I mean, this is like she got to the top of the mountain and just started screaming, help, help, help. And people, oh yeah, you tripping. That's what the consensus was. You're tripping. But I'm glad we got a lot of people, especially a lot of people in the building right now. They support her and they agree. So let me pull up this presentation, y'all. Give me 1 second as I get in here and pull this up, right? It's very interesting that the news media, I tried to get this footage. I tried so hard to get this footage from NBC. NBC News 6 in Florida, they're the ones who broke the interview with Desiree Perez's daughter. And for whatever reason, it's restricted in our country, right? Says a lot. But they're talking about this, and this is what they aired on Friday. And I just want y'all to watch this and peep this, all right?
Is taking legal action after she says she spent nearly 2 weeks in mental health institutions for no legitimate reason. She claims in a recently filed lawsuit that it was orchestrated by her own mother, and others who should have protected her failed her. NBC6 investigative reporter Amy Viteri has her story.
So legally, I can't go home.
No, you cannot.
Why?
Because you're being Baker acted.
Body camera video shows the moments Broward deputies encouraged Demore Hadley to get into this pickup truck with people she says she didn't know.
I can't ride with you and you guys take me?
You're going to be in handcuffs, so dog's not going to be able to come?
No, I don't want to be in handcuffs.
Okay.
Demore says they took her to a hospital for a mental health evaluation after this doctor signed paperwork saying she was a risk to herself.
What he told me was, we received a call from your family that you tried to OD the night before.
A doctor she says she'd never met before.
Okay.
And according to Demore, it's her own mother who's behind it. In this lawsuit, she claims her mother, Desiree Perez, used unlawful means to have Demore falsely detained under Florida's Baker Act and Marchman Act.
So she's the CEO of Roc Nation, a company that she owns along with Sean Carter, the famous rapper Jay-Z.
The complaint alleges a conspiracy, saying Perez used her money, power, and influence to tear apart Demore and her husband, Javon Hadley, and created an enterprise of individuals to effectuate her plot.
To essentially try to separate me from my husband and to falsely accuse him of domestic violence.
Perez has repeatedly denied these allegations in court filings. A month before Demore filed her complaint, we found her mother filed her own lawsuit against Demore's husband, Javon. Citing evidence, Perez says he has abused her daughter for years, something the couple has denied in court records. In that lawsuit, Desiree Perez says she moved to Baker Act her daughter, fearing she was at risk of suicide and abusing prescription drugs.
I haven't seen anything in my entire 20 years of practicing law that it is so clear that someone did something wrong.
Attorney Hilton Napoleon is representing Demore in the lawsuit, which claims Perez harassed the couple for years, including making unfounded claims to get Javon arrested on multiple occasions.
Let me pause. Shout out to the brother, Mr. Napoleon. Is that his name? The attorney who took the case. So there's a heavy load to carry because you're going up against Roc Nation, and I'm gonna peel back the layers on this Roc Nation stuff because there's a lot. They're so connected with the courts, with the police departments. I'm even talk a little bit about Desiree Perez's background. If y'all don't know, Desiree Perez helped bring down cartels in Puerto Rico and Colombia, I believe, in the 90s, like mid 90s, because she was embedded with these cartels and D-Rugs and the movement of D-Rugs, right? So she became a CI or a snitch or whatever. And in exchange for her cooperation, she didn't do any time, and she was awarded work in hip-hop, the hip-hop industry, and she's an anti-black Latina. And I'm not going to even say allegedly. What she said in this claim, what her daughter said, she said that she decided she wanted to Baker Act her daughter because I got to get you away from this N-word. Not GGA, like, you know, term of endearment, but with the ER. You know, that's not a term of endearment. So again, you got three people on this planet. We talked about this. You got people of color, you got people that classify themselves as white, and you got racists. So Desiree Perez will probably fall in the lines of racists, anti-black racists. And she's over a record label that caters to black listeners. This is heavy. This is deep. But let's move a little bit further with this.
For battery and domestic violence, charges prosecutors did not pursue.
The state attorney's office wrote a 11-page scathing closeout memoranda, which basically said that her mother made false allegations to the police.
In this closeout memo, a prosecutor with the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office cites Demore's lack of cooperation and raises concerns about some of the evidence and how it was obtained. The prosecutor also wrote Demore was wrongfully Baker Acted last year, something her mother's attorney disputes in this letter, challenging many of the memo's other conclusions.
Look, she Baker Act her own daughter. Now, Baker Act, if you guys don't know, Baker Act is basically like 5150 or 730, and they call that in New York. Whatever you can call someone and say, you know, they're trying to harm themselves or they're trying to do something or they're not in their right state of mind, they need to be committed. That's what she did. And they're like, well, how did she know certain information? In the lawsuit, Miss Perez is basically saying that, I'm sorry, Miss Hadley, her daughter, she's now married, Demore Hadley. she's basically saying that there was video and audio that was in their bedroom. Okay, look, hold on. These allegations are serious. Her daughters basically filed a lawsuit claiming that Desiree Perez used unlawful methods to have her falsely detained under the Florida Baker Act and the Marchman Act, right? The report originally, we're watching it with the NBC6 South Florida. They're outlining this accusation that Perez manipulated the system using her influences and resources, right? And this is according to the lawsuit. Hadley alleges she was institutionalized in a mental health facility for 2 weeks without justification, and she submitted medical documentation, which they're going to talk about in this news clip. She submitted the medical documentation and body cam footage that allegedly shows a mobile crisis unit instructing her to enter into a gray pickup truck. A doctor later evaluated Hadley, referencing family statements, and even included the mother, Desiree Perez's, and an aunt, and she claimed she had attempted an overdose the previous night. But she goes on to Hadley, her daughter says, I don't even do drugs.
I have 3 different collateral sources of information that say that she's been acting psychotic, that she threatened to overdose yesterday.
Demore's lawsuit alleges her mother conspired with prominent psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Bober, seen here in body camera video, and others to have Demore committed for a mental health evaluation. Bober cites supporting evidence from her family and diagnosed Demore with an unspecified psychosis. He ordered she be taken to Memorial Regional Hospital, where he is chief of psychiatry, and where results from drug tests taken upon admission were negative, according to records Demore shared with us.
They told me your tox screens came out negative, and I go, I know. I don't do drugs.
In a statement, Dr. Bober's attorney said Demore was placed under the Baker Act for 38 hours due to the potential risk of imminent harm she posed to herself, adding failing to take appropriate action would have been a breach of Dr. Bober's ethical and professional obligations.
So they're just trying to justify the fact that they were working with a criminal organization. Like they said, she used her resources and her influence to make this happen. So they're just, that claim basically is saying, well, it would have been wrong for us not to investigate Kat, right? So her lawsuit, Hadley's lawsuit, further accuses Perez of leveraging her wealth and status to interfere in her marriage to her husband, Jovan Hadley, alleging that Perez fabricated domestic violence claims to separate the couple. In response, Perez had previously filed her own lawsuit against Jovan, alleging he had abused Hadley for years. Both Hadley and her husband denied the claims, according to the Express Tribune. Again, Mr. Hilton Napoleon II, he's the attorney representing Hadley. I was about to say Rosie. Desiree Perez's daughter. This is what he stated. He said, I haven't seen anything in my entire 20 years of practicing law that is so clear that someone did something wrong, like we saw. And then he referenced the 11-page memorandum from the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office that reportedly criticized Perez's accusations as false and unsupported by evidence. Again, this is written by the in the Express Tribune. Hadley was released from the last of her mental health detentions in April after her mom just dismissed the case. But this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. You get what I'm saying? Let me finish with this real quick so we could move forward.
While Demore was at Memorial, her mother further petitioned to have her transported to a different facility under Florida's Marchman Act, claiming again in court records that Demore suffered from severe drug abuse. A judge granted that petition.
They ran the test. They knew that she had no drugs in her system and she was not abusing drugs. And the fact that you can't do anything about it is scary.
Demore was sent to this treatment center in Deerfield Beach, where Dr. Bober serves as medical director.
Where are the people that are supposed to protect me from this happening?
According to her lawsuit, Demore requested a hair follicle test at that facility called Life Skills, which detects drug use for at least the past 3 months, and which showed no drugs had been in Demore.
Wow.
Demore was held at Life Skills until April 8th. She shared discharge paperwork that lists a diagnosis of persistent depressive disorder, which she disputes. No medication was prescribed. Court records show Demore was able to leave that day after her mother voluntarily dismissed the case. But Demore says the damage has been done, and she feels a system designed to keep people safe failed to protect her.
Money, influence, and power should not be something that's used, right, or abused to hurt innocent people.
Perez has filed a motion to dismiss Demore's complaint, asserting that the Baker Act and other legal proceedings she has undertaken were rooted in legitimate concern for her daughter's safety.
The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office tells us they stand by their memo. Memorial Healthcare says they can't speak about Demore's case because of the pending lawsuit. We also contacted Life Skills South Florida and have not yet heard back. BSO told us the incident involving Demore is now internally under review. Amy Viteri, NBC6.
They're going to try to skate out of this. But again, another Roc Nation scandal. Believe Jag came up. Where'd you go, boo? Where you at? Well, I'm going to wait for her to come back. I didn't know she was going to pop in, but, she's always welcome to come here. But let's review what she did on Piers Morgan.
You want to know why there is no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere. Forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away without a response. That changes now, Sean. You must respond. You have no choice. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through our culture and our society for decades. It must stop. See, people keep looking at him like he's the Sputnik that came out of nowhere. This is someone who was designed to be what he is. We got to stop making ditties. And if we're going to do that, then we got to go back. We got to go back to even further, the mentors of these people. Because Diddy was taught how to do what he does systematically, and Clive Davis has been his greatest teacher.
Look, Clive Davis is not here to respond to that, nor is Jay-Z.
I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things.
What do you think happened with
keeping people against their will?
Right there. All right, we got Jag in the building. Are you there? You gotta unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Are you there? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. We got Jag in the building, Jaguar Wright. We are reviewing this new breaking lawsuit by Desiree Perez. And of course, I ran the investigation news clip of them talking about everything that happened, but they didn't talk about everything. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into what that lawsuit says, because what you just said here, what Jaguar Wright just said here in regards to holding people hostage, I guess that got Pierce and Oliver, his attorney, because we talked to Mr. Oliver maybe that got them in a little bit of a, little bit of a frenzy, or they got a little ooh. Like even when you was doing this interview, I was like, oh.
You want to know what still cracks me up? That people don't think that that's what I'm going to do. But it goes to show you the hero worship, and it goes to show you, just how the collusion is actually run. People, they really think that because Piers Morgan invited me onto his show that I was going to take that as a moment for myself to fall in line and to, it would have been nice, a regular spot on Piers Morgan for a girl like me, right? But then he done cheapened the place up so much. He got Raylando Brown over there. He got choking on the choke over there. He's honestly, in my opinion, he's cheapened his brand ever since he's gotten to this conversation quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on with that, because you were hosted on his show in October of 2024
in the oddest of ways.
You say what?
It was odd.
Well, we were there. You were there to discuss allegations against Sean Combs, and during the interview, you made serious claims about Jay-Z and Beyonce, referring to them as monsters and alleging they had victims, basically.
Yeah.
So, following the broadcast, Jay-Z and Beyonce's legal team contacted Piers, asserting that your allegations were totally false and had no basis in fact. In response, Piers edited the interview to remove your statement. That part that I played. Plus, I have the unedited. I'm not, we're uncensored around here, right?
Period.
But Piers had that removed, and he issued a public apology stating, that what is it? What did he say? I forgot exactly what he said.
He said you can't just go into a theater and scream fire. You can't do that, and that's pretty much what he said I did. I came into the Piers Morgan Theater and I screamed fire, and you can't do that. You can't just say whatever you want to say. But it's funny because then he can turn around and sit there and try to encourage people to say the N-word on his channel.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. We're gonna put Piers Morgan into the anti-black potential racist side of the game too. But yeah, he said
that lines up because he's a spokesperson for the whole Jewish sensitivity community effort.
Get out of here with that. But he said, editing interviews is not something he does lightly for a show called Uncensored Cap, right? But like the proverbial cries of a fire in a crowded theater, there are legal limits to us. And we apologize to Jay-Z and Beyonce. Now, my whole thing right now is the validation concerns, right? Recent legal issues that we're talking about with Desiree Perez, including allegations from her daughter about being falsely detained under mental health laws, lends credence to what you've been saying, your long-standing concerns about misconduct within the music industry.
And not just misconduct, but government collusion as well.
Right.
Obstruction of justice, the trumping up of fake mental diagnoses, hiring actual doctors to pass through false diagnoses. Like, I said all of this. Yeah.
And the reason why you're able to say that is because you were a victim of it, right? 2023, right after you went on to the blue couch and said what you said about Jay-Z, and at the end of 2022,
the first time I came forward and finally said, and I said it in that interview when they asked me about Jay-Z, and when I look back at it now, that even feels different. I had never talked about Jay-Z before. I had never spoken about it because I knew the hell that comes along with speaking on that fool. But I couldn't be silent any longer. I couldn't be silent any longer. Going after Diddy wasn't enough. It wasn't going to be enough. I had to come and bring it where it belonged. And, you know, the thing is I didn't even run down on him that heavy. The only thing that I did was highlight the very real things that people kept overlooking. You can, you know, because they ask, you know, you know, when you look at his rise to success and and you were there and you saw it, sure did. And I watched everybody he screwed over. And I watched everybody he took advantage of, including me. And I watched everything. And I made it very simple. If you got to do all of that, I don't want it that bad. I don't want nothing that bad. But apparently, even me just highlighting these very real things was enough to start the Roc Nation meat grinder. Because everything her daughter is saying that her mother has done to her over these past years, they've done to me too.
Yeah.
See, I'm starting to look at things a little different now. I've always said that these black fake elite whatever celebrity people were being controlled from higher up. But the thing is, I never really took into consideration how damaging the Desiree Perez thing is. I mean, she's practically been able to be invisible in plain sight without anybody really looking. And up until this moment, for her daughter to come forward with this lawsuit, after everything that she's done, there is now irrefutable fact and evidence that this is what this company does. The question is, who really got the power? Because it's starting to look like it's really Desiree Perez. And the Jigga Man and the Baby and all of them is front people. That's what it's starting to look like. And I'm also getting sick and tired of the tactic that every time they get called out, all of a sudden they filing lawsuits. It's just somebody accused of file a lawsuit.
Right.
File a lawsuit.
Right.
File a lawsuit. The Tory thing was looking a little sketchy. Megan got to file a lawsuit against Milagro Grams. Got to file a lawsuit. Like that's... When you're looking at how they respond, how this company responds to how they deal with negative press and real accountability, it's always the same thing.
Yep.
Another lawsuit. If you listen, even in Demore's lawsuit now that we're examining as we speak, she said that she begged for more time for a case she knew she couldn't win against her son-in-law, just so she could have more time to grind them up, hoping that she could get them to break until she could get the law or the health care to do what this is insane.
Ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Side note, I didn't want to veer too much off of the conversation, but you were just talking about who has the real power, and you mentioned the elites, the people behind these people, because we know what time it is. They're the ones who have the real power, and Desiree Perez just seemed like she's the so look.
That's Mammy. That's Big Daddy.
I'm gonna throw another example.
Roc Nation ain't nothing but Roc Nation is the new plantation.
I'm gonna throw another example out there, and we kind of talked about this in private, but me and Black kind of went deeper into this situation. Remember Martin Luther King's nonviolent movement, right?
Yeah.
Nothing against Martin Luther King, but who put him with Gandhi? Because Martin Luther King was about, nonviolence, peace, love, and all. There ain't nothing wrong with peace and love, but if you want peace, sometimes you got to bring war, right? But his whole thing was there. Let these people beat us, and look at Gandhi with the nonviolent movement, and he was looking up to Indian guy who now we know this Indian guy was very anti-black because Gandhi never backed the Fijians, the blacks that were in India. Like he was anti them. Gandhi at the time when Shaka Zulu was giving hell to the British, Gandhi was like, let's unalive the Zulus. But then you want to influence well, he was a puppet, Martin Luther King.
No, but see, it was that Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, but he was influencing this guy who has power, pretty much power over Black America, right? For the most part.
Exactly. Who had the influence, and he was able to get him to jump on to his thing, right? Because he was also a Nobel Prize winner. It's very interesting how they throw us little carrots when they're trying to get our loyalty.
Right.
And so they create all of this pomp, and we're giving you the Nobel Peace Prize. And Mahatma Gandhi, he also is one. And you need to listen to him. And the only thing Martin Luther King did was come back and tell everybody, no, we're going to let them. It turned us into victims. It turned us more docile.
I like Malcolm. When Malcolm was like, we're going to stop singing, we're going to start swinging. And
by any means necessary.
And that's what I'm saying. Even towards the end of his life, Martin Luther King started to realize, I got played.
He got played. He said it himself. I feel like I led my people into a burning building.
And he started talking about poor people. So he was trying to do a 180 on the whole situation, and then boom, he got taken out in Memphis. So I say all that so people could understand. Look, a person like Jay-Z, and I'm like I said, I'm not a Jay-Z hater, but the situation with him, he came out, and I remember that album with Dead Presidents. That album, I remember having that single.
Reasonable Doubt.
Reasonable Doubt. He came with that, right? And
I was one of the first Philly people in Philly to have that album.
That was a dope project. Him having Biggie on it, really dope, right? He came out heralding himself as this drug dealer, and look at me, I'm doing it. I'm like, whether it's true or not, he came and presented himself as one way, and he got the influence of the people. He manipulated situations, things within the industry to put himself at the top of the game, and he has the power. He, in my opinion, snaked Kaepernick with the whole NFL situation.
Well, of course he did. That was a straight infiltration move, because the truth is, the blackout that we had going on against the NFL, if it had stayed for another year or two, it would have crippled the NFL. And all they had to do was go and get this guy.
Right.
To say, listen to me, there's opportunities, and we're past kneeling,
and we're this, and we're that, and whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. And then all of a sudden, black people giving their money, they give him the music job. See, they knew what it would take to get us back in line.
Exactly.
Just no different than with Gandhi and Martin Luther King.
And that's why I brought that up. That is so you understand where I'm coming from. I just want the people to understand. Number one, let's dead this whole celebrity worship ish, and a guy who's willing to sell his people out, sell drugs to his people, and sell his people out. Ain't no telling what he. So he has an anti-black.
Just get a little clearer. Let's get even a little clearer. Forget about what he was selling to the public. Let's look at who he actually is. Let's look at the countenance of this person's character. This is someone who was selling this poison to their own family members. And that's not alleged. It's been reported.
Mm-hmm.
This is someone who took a firearm and put a hole into their own sibling before the age of 18. And that's not alleged. That's also a point of fact and record. This is someone who has had years of experience being involved with people that were a little bit too young. This is not the kind of person that cares about anyone. And if you sit and you listen to Dame, if you sit and you listen to D Haven, if you sit and you listen to me, if you listen to Jazz ever before he finally got a couple dollars out of the Jigga Man and signed on to the plantation, the Roc Nation plantation. If you go back and listen, this is not the kind of person who has ever cared about people. The only thing he has ever cared about is what he can make people do or what he can make people do for him.
Look, speaking of, you say let's listen to D Haven, right? Let me run this real quick.
But most of the people that got in trouble in the industry, big trouble, who they went to for help? When Lil Wayne was in trouble, who did he go to? When Meek Mills was in trouble, who he go to? Meek Mills said it himself. Desiree helped me.
Okay, all right. So look.
Like, yo, we could do things. And I can guarantee you the conversation with Emery, even when Emery came home and seen, he came home and seen the same thing. Yo, you dealing with her?
Who's the chick?
Desiree.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
He came home and had to see it too. Say, yo, what is this? And I can tell you how that conversation probably went. Like, look, man, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to worry about nothing else ever again. You over here with us now. But what if, yo, she a snitch? Man, fuck that snitch shit, bro. Them people that's talking about that snitch shit, we ain't gonna be breathing in the same ear. That's what you worried about? Them niggas that don't have nothing sitting home? Where you gonna be if you don't get on this side of town, get on this side? I can see that conversation happening. And a nigga move all his integrity and morals to the side to take care of his family after he just did 12 years. I can see that.
Okay. I just wanted the fair use, y'all. Thank you.
And the fair use banner is up on the screen below.
Yeah, but shout out to the real life street stars. This is when D Haven was on their platform not too long ago, talking about the situation with her being the CEO of Roc Nation and what he thought the conversation that may have taken place with, well, oh man, wait, what's going on? You got her? And he's like, hey, yeah, I think this is him basically saying like Jay made the ultimate deal with the devil when she's the CEO of his company.
Well, see, this is the thing. I'm thinking about it from another place, right?
Okay.
The movie Get Out.
Oh.
In that movie, they were talking about how these wealthy, affluent, not black people were luring in and beguiling in talented, special black folk. And then once they got them under their spell, they started using them to live vicariously through them. And then as we saw later on in the film, they took them over. If you think about this whole situation, now that we're looking at it with Desiree Perez and Jay-Z's intersection, she wasn't around when he was out in them streets doing what he was doing. He was out there with D Haven. But she was on the, moving things around business stuff at around the same time, not in association with them and on a much higher level.
On a way higher level.
Because the only way you get to become the kind of government informant that they trust to go in and I hear people say, she took down this cartel with her intel. She took down that cartel. Do you know what I've learned about CIs, especially when it comes to cartel? And all of my years living in Texas taught me very well. Anyone who says that they're, working to take down on behalf of the United States, that's not why they're there. They're negotiating. They're negotiating. allegedly for the balance of power and control. And, you know, when exactly was it that El Chapo got taken down?
Not too long ago, right?
Because if I remember correctly, that was when she started making her public face as co-founder of Roc Nation.
Yeah.
And what it's just starting to look like to me is that a very, very, very successful government operative got put in position and got given her own pet nig to ensnare and beguile the black folk. And then when enough blood had been shed, she finally got her company. And they're just the face. It would make sense. It would make sense if it was all her, because that would explain the billionaire bad credit thing.
Oh.
Because if it's really not their money, and people keep saying that, people keep saying there are a lot of things been, oh, well, you know, what you are on paper don't mean that that's what you have.
Stop.
That's what they've been saying. Which is why I hit up with, how you a billionaire with bad credit? The only way that can happen is if you lack what they call liquidity.
Right.
Which means somebody else is holding on to all of that money.
You could be a billionaire with credit and real estate and portfolio this, but no liquid. So I think that's what's going on with Jay. Let's just say I think, right? I'm not an expert. But yeah, so now you got a person like Desiree stepping in and what? Make everything.
I think she just claiming her reward. And I think she's done a very good job using these two black puppets to fool Black America.
There you go.
Into selling their souls back to the devil. And jumping right back in the devil pocket. That's what it's looking like to me.
Well, so you got a point. Now, look, let me move forward with Piers Morgan and his premature dismissal of your statements. So he hurried up and apologized to Jay and Beyonce, right? And then he removed your statement or your statements from his interview with you. And you know, that was a prematurely dismissed.
No, he's not. I'm sorry, Keith Wilkes. Please stop lying. He went to go meet with the Senate majority holder. That deal has not been squared away yet. You need to stop coming in here capping. Whoever Keith Wilkes is. He's been trying to open that 40-40 casino for the past 10 years. Him and Michael Rubin. And they were sitting there using Meek Mills allegedly to try to muscle everybody into wanting to come along and join along, all up until Diddy got arrested and threw it all off. That's why him and Barack Obama were in New York around the same time during the Didless trial, even though none of them had anything to do anywhere near that courthouse.
Last week, you're right.
You are a liar, Keith.
Well, let's not even pay these people.
No. I needed to address that because sometimes these comments left unaddressed go subliminal.
No, well, you're right. And we got someone in the chat who's validating and saying exactly what you're saying. You're right, and it's not been approved. I don't think it's gonna happen. And
I'm gonna make sure it don't happen.
Oh, well, I feel you, because the thing is like I said, karma. If Jay-Z did go out there and sell all them D-rugs to the community, you don't deserve to be in any position of where you could just, no, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. God ain't gonna let you see. I know he thinks he's God.
It makes sense why they got the baby out there and the blue baby out there working their tail off. They need the money. They need them hoes. They need them out there because they ain't got no money. Because I bet you, even this casino deal, I guarantee you, it's got Desiree Perez all over it.
I'm sure it does. But look, let's move on, because I was just basically saying the situation with Pierce and him just being so quick to apologize to Jay. And then we did talk to Pierce's attorney, There was no cease and desist. There was none of that. This was just a look.
It was all cash.
Call. Right. It was a call. It was a, hey, we need to make a call to you, Piers. You know, that's Piers is Rupert Murdoch's boy.
But do you see what it did, though? Do you see what it did? That whole move gave their fake illusion of power validity.
Exactly. That's Rob.
Because all of the black people, you didn't hear none of the white outlets really talking about it. They went over it. They addressed it. It was all of the black people. It was all of the black outlets. You see that? You see that? Jay-Z and Beyonce ain't having it. But it wasn't Jay-Z and Beyonce that called.
No.
At best case, it was Alex Spiro. And for real, now with this whole Desiree Perez thing going on, it could have came directly from whoever's running her show.
Exactly.
Because she's definitely working for someone. And if they say take it down and make sure you apologize to Jay-Z and Beyonce so everybody knows to stay in line and don't disrespect them, it's all a ruse.
Well, look, here's what Piers Morgan's uncensored platform and his responsibility, what they should have done. They prematurely dismissed your perspective without thorough investigation of what you were saying. And EW.com even said that. But
if they were going to shut down the interview, then they should have shut the whole thing down. Don't censor me and then let Vlad run his mouth.
Exactly. And then look,
if the whole episode...
And Vlad lied. He straight lied.
I know.
On that, he straight up, I proved it. And Vlad, again, if you're listening, you know, you can sue me. You know that. If I'm lying, I'll be liable. You can sue me. You know who I am. Again,
I got a better idea. Why don't him and Torre go get a room and work it out together?
Torre, that's another. We will talk about Torre, you weirdo. But look, by inviting you to speak on his show, Piers basically acknowledged your relevance and your insight. But after editing your comments after the interview, it to me it seems as he's undermining his own platform. He basically undermined his own platform, but most importantly, you know, he
did what his boss told him. He did what Rupert Murdoch told him to do.
Right.
He did what his big daddy told him to do. See, Rupert Murdoch is Piers Morgan's Desiree Perez.
Yes. Okay, so if Piers Morgan, if he's willing to apologize to Jay-Z and Beyonce, it stands to reason that he should also address any potential missteps in his treatment of you, Jag, and especially if subsequent events suggest your concerns had merit, right?
Yeah.
That's just about the consistency and accountability for Piers Morgan's platform. And also, finally, I'm just going to say, in regards to supporting whistleblowers, the show is called Uncensored. You, in an era where, you know, we're exposing misconduct, and that's a very crucial thing. I mean, he had Suge on there talking cash money bull.
Greasy,
right?
Greasy. He also had Ray Lando Brown.
Oh well, yeah, he had Rayford on there too. But media figures, you know, have a responsibility to support or at least fairly represent individuals who come forward with allegations and ensuring that their voices are heard and respected. Now, Piers, well, Suge isn't a whistleblower. I'm not going to say that. Neither is Ray J, right? But you allowed them to come on your platform and say what they had to say. And you're not apologizing to Dre, Jimmy Iovine, Reggie Wright.
Nor did he stop and say they're not here to defend themselves.
No, he didn't. Exactly.
He didn't say that at all. He said it with me. He ain't said
exactly. He was caping like a mug for yeah. And then look, we're not even talking about the Tory Lanez situation or the Kid Cudi potential involvement with, you know, Jay.
Once again,
allegedly.
the diddler said that the Jigga Man was his brother. his best friend, his strategist, the person that he went to when he was in trouble. And I bet he did. Because he go to the Jigga Man and say, can you please call Mommy Desiree and ask her to call her people? That's all it would take. Everything that her daughter has said is everything that has happened in my life. Which means this person has the ability to move things around on a much higher level, judicially. But when it gets to the points where you can buy doctors to put fake diagnoses on people and pharmaceutical people up and spin them up and all, yeah, this is RICO stuff we talking about. If she's capable of doing that to her own daughter, what makes you think she wouldn't have done it to Tory? What makes y'all think?
Right.
This woman is insane. I'm just trying to figure out, looking at the lawsuit, how does she have time to run Roc Nation?
Yeah, she's monitoring video allegedly of her daughter having sex with her husband. It's weird, right?
What kind of weird? Like I said to you before, the simple fact that you don't remember your daughter taking her first steps, but you remember her getting laid down by her husband, that's a problem.
Yeah,
you put
man.
your child out, you drop her off with your mammy and your pappy, so you can go and play cartel and robbers.
Let me play a little bit more of this D Haven interview with on a real life street star. Shout out to real life street stars.
But I don't see, and what I couldn't put past me is Emery coming to me. Just on some real nigga shit. This is what hurt when I say, when you expect niggas that treat you the way you treat them, and it don't work that way.
That's the worst thing you could ever do in the world.
You know, because I could have expected a nigga to come to me and say, look, man, I don't know what Jay tripping off of. He's still tripping off of that, this, that, and the third. I'm not really with that, but you can't tell him I'm fucking with you. So this is what I'm gonna do. Boom, 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 we work from there. Real nigga shit. But to act like, yo, I'm gonna join forces and do the same thing and play this shit like this, come on, man. That's humiliating. And now I got you as a yes man. Like, yo, bro, you couldn't even speak up for me. You know what I'm saying? So all of that shit is twisted. And that's how all those conversations, that's how they think of us. They like, really, those guys talking about snitching, this and that, they ain't, what you worried about them for? They don't be in our parties. You know what I'm saying? What you worried about that for?
Different levels. New level, new devil. He's basically saying, look, Jay turned his back on, and he like, I ain't trip on what y'all got to say. I mean, y'all ain't even in my tax bracket, right? You're not even in me class. Shout out to Big Pun, right? Yeah, to go shake hands with the demon himself, with the devil himself, right? I mean,
let me tell you something. When you're a person that's dealing with great personal insecurity and you work very hard to hide it, you'll do anything to get as far away from the thing that you're most insecure about. And see, him growing up in those projects, him having to learn how to survive those projects, being the awkward young man that he was with his proclivities at such a young age, you know. Why can't anybody see that he would just do anything? You know, I feel the same way about Amir Questlove Thompson when I look at him and the gatekeeper he's grown to be.
Oh.
The one thing that I know, what?
I was going to say something about him, old bitch hips. Nah, I'm just, but he said, no. Sandwiches. No. Look, I like Questlove, but
I don't know why.
No, just from afar. I know you've been.
My thing is he's talented. Yes, he is talented, but he's just like Jay-Z. He's not as talented as he says he is, or he thinks he is. That's why they got along so well. Because Amir was the perfect kind of sycophant for a sycophant like Jay-Z.
Yeah. No, I got what you're saying. See, I'm just saying from afar because I've been to a few spots where Questlove was spinning. I was I mean, Quest is dope as far as on the DJ side too. But
and you know what? If I never had sex with nobody because I was fat and afraid of my intimate smell, and I had nothing but time and I did nothing but collect a bunch of records, and I'm sitting there looking at all these records all over the place, I would become a DJ too. I would turn my boredom into something so people could say, oh, you're an amazing DJ, and damn, you ain't getting no pussy in the past 2 years. Yeah, I would do that too.
Okay, look, listen. You funny as a that man. You funny, Jack. But no, what I was gonna bring up the fact that Quest, and we could do this, we could sidebar this on another time and talk about it. But Questlove did say something about that Kendrick Lamar Squabble Up video because he thought he thought Kendrick Lamar was taking a shot at the Roots because remember, no, look at the aesthetics of that video.
Yeah, but why?
He's just doing.
No, that's a narcissist.
That's why I said bitch. That's why I said bitch.
Just like they thought back in the day that, you know, Biggie was dissing them and Biggie wasn't even talking about them.
Wait, why Biggie? He thought Biggie was dissing. How did thought Biggie was dissing?
No, Talib was the one that brought all of that about, talking about Biggie Smalls had dissed the Roots or whatever, and the Roots had dissed Biggie Smalls. They were trying to create a fake beef. Who they was talking about in the song Never Do What They Do had nothing to do with Biggie Smalls. Had nothing to do with Biggie Smalls. But they rode that hype to create that little bit of beef.
I remember
to
that.
Give the Roots validity, because the Roots weren't straight niggas. They weren't. They was geeks. They like to chase after girls and hide out in locker rooms and watch people get undressed. That these were strange people. They were the only real damn niggas in the group was Malik, me, at one point in time, Mars Co-op. You know, they successfully, you know, refruitified Carl's Dice Jenkins over. You know, they did all of this stuff.
Not what? Dice Raw, juvenile lyricist, corner store terrorist. Let me not see.
I'm just gonna make it very simple. Me and Dice fell out when he tried to, you know, lightweight essay my transgender assistant. And he knew that Gigi was born a man. And then want to sit there and make fun of all of the gay boys talking about they ain't letting no gay boys on stage with them because they don't rock with no faggots. But you suck a dick under his skirt.
Jag,
I'm sorry.
This is a family show. Stop. And again, not Dice Raw, juvenile lyricist, corner store terrorist. No.
Yes, Carl Jenkins.
But shout out to DJ Quick for producing that joint that Never Do With It. That was quick. You know, that was quick.
Yeah,
right? Wasn't that quick?
Yeah, I believe so. No, it was Raphael. That was Raphael.
No, Raphael. No, I thought Quick produced that.
Well, if it was Quick, then Raphael.
No, Raphael was on the hook. Raphael was on the hook.
No, he played the bass on the track.
I gotta look that up. I thought that was quick.
No, you ain't gotta look. No, please do go.
No. I believe
act
you.
Like I don't know the history from the band that I started in.
I'm not saying you know. I'm not saying that Raphael. I'm saying I thought Quick produced that joint, which I was told Quick produced it. I'm not saying because I know you were there. I'm just saying that joint. I thought Quick produced it. But yeah, if Raphael played the bass on it, a funky motherfucker. Shout out to Raphael. But anyway,
most songs that Raphael played the bass on, he loosely produced. And let people take credit for hype, for this. You know, it was so interesting. I was listening to something, and Matthew Knowles was talking to one of the songwriters who they had stole a song for the Baby.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the guy was like, you know, he called up Matthew and was like, bro, like, how you just gonna steal my record? Like, how you just gonna and to sit there and listen to Beyonce lie and tell everybody that she wrote the song and that she came up with the idea from this and that's how the song came about. And Matthew, he said Matthew told him the hardest thing in the world. Don't nobody want to hear your story. They want to hear how great Beyonce is. They want to hear how smart she is. That's what they want. That's what's gonna sell the record. He said, so just take the money and be grateful.
Damn.
Because don't nobody care about your story. He was like, he was like, your story don't make this a multi-platinum single. Her story does. And I'm like, as much as that made sense, it's equally as diabolical.
like I said, because even with this hip hop shit, I say it's like what Napoleon said: history is a group of lies agreed upon. So a lot of times you have these people and these artists, they have this wonderful story, this Lamisha Fuller story, right? And everybody be like, oh wow, but it's crap. My bad. I didn't mean to deviate from the conversation, and I'm not taking away credit for Jag, y'all. Look, I know she knows her ish. I just was like, yo, I thought Quick produced, because at the same time, Quick produced that one joint with him and Raphael.
I tell you what though, if
that's
you
all.
go by but if you go by the Matthew knows how to sell a song storyline,
Gotcha.
how sexy would it have sounded if they said this was produced by Raphael Sadiq, who, by the way, was just, still Tony, and making it through his awkward, we don't know if he's straight or weird phase.
Okay.
And to say that it came from him, it would make it would sound a lot harder to say that it was DJ Quick who did it and just Raphael played the bass on it.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Because Quick produced in the club, but he don't get the. That's a whole nother conversation.
Quick got stepped over on a lot of things.
Quick, shout out to my Compton homie Quick, man.
Honestly, Quick kind of remind me of DJ Felony, except for Felony never became an artist.
No, you're right. Shout out to Felony, DJ Fel and Quick. Yeah, you're right. And Fel produced so much stuff. I'm like, yo, Fel, you produced that? He's like, yeah. The joint he did with Snoop and Raz. I'm like, yo, this is legend. I even you're right. But you're right. The industry will sell you a ton of BS about and I've seen it too, where it's just that whole cover story is a lie. But let the public think it, and it's effed up, like you said. It's just as effed up. It's just diabolical.
Well, no, it's just wild because the only thing it really says is that people rely on the fact that lies sell.
Boom. And right there, let's talk about this, because let's bring it back to Piers, old boss baby, right? The media hypocrisy and gaslighting. So Piers has a history of dismissing Black women and whistleblowers and truth sellers who don't fit his narrative. I'm just tying in, kind of keeping the conversation going, because we were just talking about that. So let's tie in with Piers. Why the media machine waits for mainstream approval before addressing real abuse?
Because it's the same reason why car companies design cars and then right before it's time for rollout, they realize that they have some problems that could create some issues. So what do? They sit down with their underwriters, they sit down with their legal department, and they ask, if we let this roll out, what's the chances? How much money are we going to have to spend? If 100 of them go, boom, boom, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they calculate all of the money and they say, well, yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, they have to spend out about maybe $500 million in claims. Okay, now how much will it cost if we don't make rollout and we have to go and fix all of this stuff now? Oh, well, that could be about $2 billion, and it's gonna put us back for rollout maybe another 6 to 9 months. So guess what they say? The $500 million is cheaper, and not everybody may sue. Let's roll it out.
Here you go. Wow. Okay, we're gonna wrap this in a minute, because I know Natanya is gonna be going live soon. I want to check her out. We're gonna all go over to Natanya Rubens. Shout out to Natanya Rubin, the real Natanya Rubin.
We got about 30 minutes to an hour so before she gets started.
Okay, so we'll but I mean, because we can go with this conversation, because I have a few questions for you.
I mean, worst case scenario, if we got to do a part 2, let's do a part 2.
Well, we'll see if the people want to do that. But peep game. Why is this scandal? Why does this scandal validate you? So the patterns of abuse, power, and silence, and how this latest scandal mirrors exactly what you've always been warning us about. I mean, we already went over that. It's like, even though Jay and Bay are not implicated in this lawsuit in particular, it's like if If it smells like dogs, you know it's some dog-ish. You know,
But
like
see, the thing is it doesn't matter. The daughter said, my mother, CEO of Roc Nation. She is.
Yeah.
She is the CEO of Roc Nation.
And who's the founder?
Sean Carter. Her and Sean Carter.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are the founders of this company together. And yet, he needs a $50 million loan and he's supposed to be a billionaire. And she's got money and time to, make unlawful sex tapes of her daughter and her son-in-law that she doesn't approve of because of his color. Like, she's got all of this money and all of this time. And then, why can't she loan them some money? Maybe if she had to stop stalking her daughter for 2 years, she could have loaned them the $50 million. I'm just saying. It's wild. It's wild that people will say, oh, well, this is Desiree Perez. It has nothing to do. Yes, it has everything to do with them.
And what I want to say is this too. I want to see how the conversation changes, because you predicted the Diddy stuff way in advance. Now that this new allegation, this new lawsuit has come to light, I want to see how the bloggers, these YouTubers who, parroted your language, they're going to be talking about what you were talking about, but they mocked you before. Like, you got this tough news guy. And I'm on your head too, Tough.
You mean Lil Tuffy? Carolina Crushy Tuffy?
Yeah. Anybody, not that just because you're anti-Jag. If you're just on some bullshit, I'm just on your head.
He didn't used to be anti-Jag.
I know.
He used to be very pro-Jag.
I know.
Until somebody allegedly kicked in his door and changed his mind. You a whole punk.
Yeah. Stand on it. But
I've been through worse in county jail.
But these bloggers, these YouTubers, I guarantee you they're going to start parroting everything that you've already said, but they were mocking you prior. Like, I just want to see how this plays out too, because the Diddy stuff, what Charleston White call you, the Diddy bitch? Like, dude.
Yeah. And,
really?
Ain't nobody talking about it no more. And then less than 7 days later, that was all anybody could talk about.
Everybody
was arrested. But that's the thing that's tripping me out when it comes to people. For 5 years, it took 5 years to get to the point where there's a trial now. If I had to stop after year one, when everybody said it's never gonna happen, Diddy's too big. It's never gonna happen. Even if Jay-Z's not gonna let him go down. They're best friends. If you go after one, you have to go after both. And I said, I bet you I can prove you wrong. 2 years, I could have stopped when I left the internet in 2021 and didn't come back till 2022. The only reason I was forced to come back is because they wouldn't stop impersonating me, lying on me. And I realized if I didn't say anything, they were going to have control of my narrative, of my name and my words, and they'd be able to hang whatever they wanted to hang on me. So I got back in the ring. And when I came back and sat down on the blue couch, I told the truth. And now look, Diddy is on trial. That took 5 years. I'm trying to see if we can get the Jigga Man done in 2.5 or less.
Well, we're in the quickening, so it might even happen sooner. But look, the cost, and that's funny. You just rolling. I didn't give her my notes. She just rolling right to the conversation like it should. The cost Jaguar paid for telling the truth before it was convenient. Obviously, she lost a lot, right? She's lost a lot. People look at her like she's not credible 1 minute. Now it's now everybody looks at her like the many torturous interferences that you have that haters have tried to.
Can we talk about the latest one? Can we talk about the latest one?
Let's go ahead.
There was a concert that was offered to us. There was negotiations being made, but the deal was never complete.
No.
The contract was never signed and a deposit was never shared. And we never said much more. We posted the venue, but we never said anything. We didn't keep on going with this. And then you got these weirdo. So now Desiree is sitting there actually stupid enough to tell on herself saying, I didn't call the venue, but I did tell my people. And that's funny because your people, I didn't know that Trees was your people. I thought you and Trees hated each other because Trees was the first one to say that she was calling down there to let them know that I was a danger and I was a this and I hurt children. And they were going to be playing all of y'all fake receipts about me to make sure that they didn't let my concert happen.
Well, all I'll say is they got to be careful who they really fuck with. I'll just keep it a buck because I'm in contact with that promoter. I think the promoter was kind of janky anyway, but I'm gonna put his feet to the fire, and him and her, it's a group. I need them to give us emails, whomever called and said whatever, because there was an agreement. There was no contract. So there was just okay. Let's see how this could play out. But like you said, I think they were working with these disinformationalists on YouTube to try to embarrass you, because it's like that's all it is.
I believe it was a total setup. But
yeah.
for Desiree to be stupid enough to say that only 2 tickets were sold and you bought one and Grace bought one, that's a lie.
Yeah. No.
That's a lie. And more importantly, who told you?
How would you know?
Oh yeah. The only way you could get that information is if you was in communication with the promoter, and whether you know it or not, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, stupid robot, for being so dumb today. I want to thank you because what you just did was put that promoter on the line to be sued.
That part.
And the voice clip, you don't worry about trying to take it down or edit it or putting something else in its place. No, you about to get that man sued. And this is exactly why we posted it. Because we knew y'all was going to do this.
And you guys fall for the trap all the time. And see, the thing is when you want to catch a rat, you just put a little cheese out, put a little peanut butter out there. And that mother will come. Because y'all so thirsty now. You guys are so thirsty that you guys will fall for anything.
Oh, wait a minute. There's something else that I wanted to talk about since we talking, since we here in the gutter. Do you remember when we first started the Jaguar Wright effect after she terminated those last 2 channels illegally?
Mm-hmm.
It must be killing her that she can't do that no more. She must have to work so much harder now that she just can't run around stealing people's content, putting on her janky little website, pretending it's hers, and then going to YouTube and striking people's channel until the channel go away. So all the evidence of her foolishness. Yeah, but anyway, when we got when we got Jaguar Wright effect, I posted a picture that I shared from another content creator who didn't get struck for the exact same photo, but I got struck for it. It was a Brandy Whitehurst. Ignorant opinion, incoming, outgoing. Which only verified that she was the Brandy Whitehurst that everybody had been saying she was. You can't put in a privacy complaint for something that's not your privacy.
Right.
You can't file on behalf of someone else's privacy. You actually have to show fact that it is you and that you feel as though your whatever is being, invaded upon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for people to come through in comments and say stuff like, there are guidelines. You're not allowed to do that. You're doxing. You're doing that. The only thing you did, idiot, was prove that we're absolutely right about Jaguar Wright. Thank you.
Thank you, dummy.
Thank you.
I
want to thank you, stupid robot.
I think Steph is in the building. Shout out to Steph. I'm just saying, VP. Y'all go follow her.
Steph. Long time.
Y'all go follow her. Again, y'all go follow Auntie Leah as well, because Jag pops in over there and does her thing as well. So please, follow our people. You get what I'm saying? And yeah. But what we're talking about is Piers Morgan. Should he apologize to Jaguar Wright? Now, currently, I was just bringing up the cost that Jaguar paid for telling the truth before it was convenient. You know what I'm saying? Even the whole thing with Piers taking down and making that public apology, taking down your comment, making that public apology to Jay-Z and Beyonce, that was a cost that was a hit on not really your credibility, but
Oh no, it slowed down our interviews.
oh, it did. It did.
It slowed down our interviews a lot because everybody was afraid.
You were going to talk to that one lady from ABC New York,
and because we had that whole thing set up, and then
she was like,
because of Piers,
mm-hmm.
that interview was canceled, and there were a couple other interviews that were compromised because the word that was going on around was, "Oh, I don't want to get a cease and desist. I don't want Alex Spiro to come after me. I don't want this. I don't want that." It was a scare tactic.
But
the thing is you wasn't doing it for them. You did it for their boss, because at this point in time, I'm not giving the Jigga Man and the Bebe no more credit. That's Desiree Perez's company. It was always her company. I believe someone allegedly in government put her in control, and he's been the puppet, just like on Get Out, and that's that.
There it is. I mean, we could even tie that into that early 1990s. Let's say about 93. There was a alleged meeting between certain powerful people within the entertainment industry and the company that runs the private prisons. I forgot the name of the damn company. Once I get the funding for Setting the West Part 2, I was going to go there with that conversation about that, because you had too much powerful things in the late 80s, early 90s in hip hop. We had a lot of variety. Like I said, you can go from Pharcyde to NWA on the West Coast. You got Poor Righteous Teachers, you had Karis One, you had a lot of great things coming out of hip hop that was raising the conscious level of the people. And then
being Rakim.
There you go. Then you had a switch overnight. East Coast became gangsters. I mean, we on the West Coast, we were already on that. I wouldn't even say gangster rap, because that's even a term.
No, y'all were repping y'all culture.
It was reality rap. That's what, and I shout out to Ice-T, because that's what he originally called it. Reality rap. That's what it was.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. And then East Coast, well, I'm not even gonna say East Coast, New York. And that's the biggest problem with hip hop. New York is the biggest lie in hip hop. New York. They stole and siphoned from Philly to pump fake and make it seem like they had control of the juice. They had control of what was hot. They stole all the credit that the West Coast did to the beginning, the building bricks of hip hop. New York has always been the problem, in my opinion.
Philly keeps making it, New York keeps taking it, right? Yeah. Look, we were just building on that, and I'm gonna do a better build on it in hip hop. Okay, so hip hop got its name through it's controversial who did it when, whatever, late 70s, whatever, but it's hip hop. And Karis once said, "Hip is to know, hop is to move," and hip hop is that's what the culture is. It's just the name that it was called. Now, I've been building with you and talking with you about just the culture, and we talk about just a lot of stuff. And I'm starting to look at Philly different now, because I'm like, oh man, y'all really had it. It was a Philly thing.
No, Philly was hip hop.
Right.
Philly was East Coast hip hop.
Right.
And that's what it was. And New York always came down. Like, why has nobody ever bothered to ask why in all of Jay-Z's hit records, all of those albums that, catapulted him, that were all ghost written by state property for the most part. Why is nobody paying attention to the fact that there was a New York rapper that was constantly kicking Philly slang?
Because he was always in Philly, and he was
because he was exactly. He was always in Philly, and guess what? So was Biggie. It was always known the New York rappers would come down with their New York swag and their New York juice, and be like, yeah, we from New York. And then they would sit there and come and get with the Philly guy. Yeah, we need to bring you up to New York. We need to do this. Oh, yeah, man. Whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. And the next thing you know, everybody getting gagged. Everybody getting got.
Wow. Well, look, I'm
like
saying.
I said, just like in Sinners, you invite the devil in.
Sinners is a perfect analogy because wow. Oh, side note, I got to send you, shout out to Curtis King. He had this clip of this one rapper, like he was rapping in a style of like some Irish jig. This shit was dope. I was like, this. I would play it, but I don't want to get struck. I'm gonna send it to you. It's fire, but yo, the Sinners analogy is perfect. And New York does represent to me, okay, Vampire in Brooklyn. I always think of vampires.
You got ass and evil.
Vampires in New York.
And evil is good, and you put it together, you got some evil. Like, woo, yeah.
Hip is good, hop is good. The movement is good, the knowledge is good. Now look, knowledge just in one location is whatever, but when you get the moving, and that's why I always say, give the attribute to the West Coast because we started the movement. We may not have created the name or created the culture, but our first element is dance. We started the movement. Cool Herc dancers will tell you, oh, we were watching Don Campbell on TV. That's how we learned how to do our thing. So what does that tell you? Long story short, though, I'm going to start revisiting a few things about the Philly thing and the New York thing and the LA thing because it's a very interesting dynamic. But let's move forward.
They turned the city of Philadelphia into a one-stop hip-hop shop for greatness as long as it wasn't a Philly artist taking credit for it.
Bam.
That's why they backed the Roots. Because the Roots were they were the least hip-hop of all of hip-hop in Philadelphia back at that time. Nobody was really trying to take the Roots crew seriously. Nobody. That's what the only thing that gave them any real leverage was Malik. It was Malik. So see, you take a bunch of band geeks, put them around a real MC, and then have them imitate everything that he brings around. That's how the Roots got built up. There was never any of that realness. So imagine what a great look it was for the Jigga Man to come to the Roots and ask them to become gatekeepers and guardians of Philadelphia on his behalf. Of course they wanted to do it because now they got to one up everybody who didn't take them seriously. They got to be the ones that say, you can't get into the VIP room. You got to come through us. It's all ego.
Look, we're gonna have to pick up this portion of the conversation at a later date because this is because look, this is what accountability in media is, right? Just what real journalism looks like and how independent media should pick up the slack. Even this conversation, we're talking about something that's very unconventional. New York versus Philly and LA versus New York, just the dynamic and how Jake went to New York.
Honestly, it's New York against the world because New York is the one that turned everything into everything that it turned to. It was New York that turned what was going on as the cover story for what was actually happening to an East Coast, West Coast. There was no East Coast, West Coast.
No, you're right.
None of that was going on. And that didn't start with LA. That started with New York.
There you go.
New York picked that fight. And I know it for a fact because I was there to see it with my own eyes.
Now look, real journalists, and this is why I take shots at all these fake bloggers and stuff.
I wish Toure would talk about that, Mr. I Am Culture.
Right. But he's not.
No, because he enjoys,
Well, we know. Independent media needs to pick up the slack. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole situation. Even with me just saying, Piers Morgan, you owe Jaguar Wright and other whistleblowers a public apology because you helped bury the truth, Piers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even platforming Vlad and letting him get off those lies. And I came back, I was like, dude, you're lying. Immediately, video dropped. No, bro, you're lying. You said you never wanted her on the show, but you're
Hold on a second. We have a comment, and I just want to get this straight before we move on. This one chance person, what is she talking about? Jag is wrong on geography. LOL. Sorry, but Philadelphia is East Coast.
Okay, one chance. All right.
Whoever said I didn't say that Philly wasn't East Coast.
They got latent ears. They may
No,
be
they don't
hurt.
got latent ears. They came through here to troll. But you know what? We can make this a teaching moment. I'm very well aware of the fact that Philadelphia is on the East Coast. I would know. I grew up there.
I live
Where
out
you
there.
from, One Chance?
Go there. Yeah, where you from, One Chance? Where you from? One Chance. He's one more chance. Is that what it is, Biggie?
Well,
right.
I want to know where One Chance is from. I came in here 5 minutes ago.
Well, see, like I
you
said,
should probably stop acting like like a child and wandering into a room talking before you know what's being said, dummy.
Maryland. He's from D.C., Maryland.
Oh, you a Bama.
Maryland.
You a Bama.
Female.
That's
She's
what you
female.
are. You
That's
a Bama.
Okay.
We don't get recognized. You please don't lock me up in Prince George's County.
Jag.
I'm sorry.
Chill. We appreciate what you said, One Chance.
I don't appreciate stupidity and lies.
See, the thing is she didn't understand the context. She didn't. Okay,
Yeah,
you
but
have
I got a
silent
problem
breast
with
cancer.
that.
Listen.
I don't know what breast cancer has to do with your mind, ma'am. Let's be very clear. By the way, are you a woman? Because I don't want to misgender anybody, because even men can get breast cancer. But my point is what does your breast cancer have to do with the fact that you came in here calling me wrong about something you wasn't paying attention to, because you wandered into the room like a 5-year-old talking about, is it time to go to Sesame Place? I don't want to hear it.
Okay. All right. We're going to leave it alone, Jag. All right. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
One Chance, like I figured, heard the conversation late. That's it. But yeah,
That's
look.
awesome. That's awesome. You know, listen to the recap at your next chemo and get all of the information before you start calling me wrong.
Jag. That could be Joshua Ray's mama.
And guess what? She's gone.
Damn. Y'all hit the like
she
button.
would be typing from the afterlife.
Damn. Y'all hit the like button, please. Yeah, because we're gonna get out of here in a second. Y'all please hit the like button.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave.
Jeez Louise. Goodbye. Bye.
No,
you leaving now?
I mean, yeah.
No, you want to know do you want to know why I don't like that comment? Because the title of this whole live and everything that we're talking about is, do I deserve an apology for somebody that I'm saying something wrong that wasn't wrong? That's the whole point of this. Isn't that the topic?
That's the topic.
So then the first thing you do is not know what's going on, but you want to come in and say that I'm wrong.
Divert the conversation, yeah. To do exactly what they.
Because you're a troll.
Right.
You probably got cancer because you've been trolling too hard. I don't know if you heard, but last year 3 trolls dropped dead right here on YouTube. There was a woman that literally died in her kitchen in between panels.
God dang. Jag. Okay. Look. All right, y'all. Look, check this out. This is we're gonna do our closing reflections. All right. This is the closing remarks, and I'm glad. I appreciate Jag for coming on for over an hour to speak with me, because I was just gonna do this myself, and I already had it popping. You already know I was talking to you about how I was gonna lay it all out, but I appreciate you coming on and helping me with these talking points. Even though we went other places, and it's good because we covered the Roc Nation CEO case, the Desiree Perez situation.
I think we need to come back though and talk about how it ties into the Tory Lanez case as well.
You're right, because that's kind of where I was going to go with this conversation too. But we already went over, and we could come back and speak on the Meg and Tory situation and how that's tied in the DDG. Because I'm down to talk about the DDG and the Haley situation.
The timelines.
It's
and the
all
setup
similar.
Queens.
It's all similar.
And the setup queens.
Even Keke Palmer, but I ain't gonna go there just yet.
I know. Listen to me. Keke, as much as I like Keke, and it's been real cute, her coming, trying to be the new Angela Bassett. So when Angela retired, they got her Angela. I appreciate all of that, and I appreciate her love for history, and I appreciate the fact that she's from Chicago. But the truth is, she a Diddy Bop too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said I ain't gonna go there just yet. But
She a Diddy Bop too. And not only that, I know that the Roots was involved. Her, Jimmy Fallon, all of that going on.
Yeah.
She was down.
Yeah.
She's a pick-me. I hate to say it. Aquila in the B is a pick-me.
Okay, Jad, look. Closing remarks. I just got really 3 questions.
Sure.
And it's like, well, the first one is just, it's a if Pierce continues to be silent about his retraction of you and his apology that he did to Jay, what do you think that means for the survivors?
I hope it enrages them. I hope it pisses them off. I hope it makes them want to come forward even more.
And if he does apology, if he issues a public apology to you, what do you think that means for the survivors?
And salute to PSK.
Oh yeah, Parkside.
I just had to say that because of the person in the chat.
Who's in the
Who
chat?
said that comment?
Oh, Larry Lair.
No, the account. They really wanted my attention, huh? PSK. People always say, what the hell does that mean? One by one, I'm knocking you out. Yeah, it's my friend Jesse. Great record.
Okay, dope. Appreciate you, sassy chick. I appreciate it. Okay. Again, I think you didn't answer the question about if he apologizes.
I think it's going to enrage people.
If he apologizes to you?
If he doesn't. If he
does though. Now the question.
If he does, I think it would. I think it's going to have the same effect.
Okay.
I think at this point in time, people are looking for accountability.
Yeah.
People are looking for accountability. That's all. And the longer he takes to acknowledge his slight to me, the worse he's doing himself, really.
Yeah.
Whether he apologizes or not, really don't matter.
No.
What I will say is this. As long as everybody else sees it for what it is, that's what does matter. Because everything these people are doing is to either change your opinion or get your approval.
The truth don't lie, it multiplies. The truth don't die, it multiplies. So him not acknowledging you, it's gonna multiply in a way that it's gonna metastasize, the cancer survivors.
Because people can't keep getting away with calling me a liar. You know, the funny thing about this lawsuit is it gives credence to that little phrase that I said on the blue couch. My receipts are time and reality.
Yeah.
I said what I had to say last fall, right after the diddler got put in timeout. And what's it been? Almost 9 months?
Mm-hmm.
And exactly what I said, here we are.
Yep.
See, time, and now we got reality.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. What does this mean? And when I say this, I'm talking about the Desiree Perez scandal, the Tory Lanez, Megan scandal, the situation with Jay-Z and Roc Nation. What does this mean for the future of the music industry? And I want to say that because I did want to talk about the Tory Lanez situation, and the reason why he had to go sit down is because of him cracking that code, which we ain't got to get too deep about that with his NFT.
He made it very clear when he said what he said. Y'all ain't got to sign them janky 360 deals no more. Mm-hmm. Y'all don't have to sign those Roc Nation contracts anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I cracked the code. I can teach you. We don't need them. And guess what? The CEO of Roc Nation is Desiree Perez. That means he took a big shot at her when he said that. Just like me, no different than me. And now looking at the things that this woman was willing to do to her own daughter in real life.
Yeah. It's
The
crazy.
thing she was with, if you'll do that to your family, if you'll do that to your own baby, what would you be prepared to do to your enemies or anyone who took away your possibility to have all of this control? Because see, what she sounds like is a control freak to me. She sounds like the kind of control freak that needs power, that exercises it to get off. So imagine what she'd be, if she could do that to her own daughter. Why wouldn't she do this to Tory Lanez? Why wouldn't she do it to me?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she do it to anybody that turned down Jay-Z? Because see, Jay-Z is her boy. That's her number one stunner. Him and his pocketbook wife.
Mm.
And they've been the front to make her little money-making, black community destroying machine happen and pop.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
That's what we talking about. That's what we talking about. It's nasty work.
That part. Yeah, and that's why really the entertainment industry, and I was going to bring up Cash Patel, but let me put this up for kicks. The Rico.
I don't, it's just so funny when the trolls show up.
Oh, the trolls are here?
7 Mile.
Oh, let me see. You're always making another person. Okay.
No, I'm not making that girl's story about mine. I'm saying that me and that girl's story are very similar, damn near exactly.
And I'm here to quantify that because
you were there.
Documenting all this, I'm seeing it.
No, but you were there.
Yeah.
You were there.
The reason why, okay, and it's almost a year we got about a few days to the year when they arrested you in Dallas last time.
The anniversary.
Why were they trying to get your DNA? I had to.
I know.
What y'all doing? I'm the one that stepped in. What are y'all doing? There's no need for DNA here. What are y'all doing? So yeah, look, we'll talk about that on another pod or another channel.
There goes General Flynn. Oh yeah, that was such a lovely. We've never really got to even have a conversation about Mar-a-Lago at all.
No, we will. You just do it. We're gonna do it on the Patreon. Let everybody know. She'll be over on the Patreon. We'll have a lot more conversations over there. Patreon only though, because we got Moloch and we got Demiurge people that are trying to just infiltrate. And they can come through. That's no problem. But we're just gonna know who you are. Don't get it twisted. Patreon only when we go talk about this situation with. Shout out to General Michael Flynn and Mary Flynn and Cash Patel, because the Rico is about to be real suave, especially with Miss Perez doing her salsa, adding the salsa to the Rico suave. It's gonna taste real nice.
Saucy. She just went straight paella.
Oh damn. But the question I had, what's the future of the music industry after this? What do you think?
For most people that you would ask that question to, they would say it feels like the end. For me, I see this as an amazing opportunity for the culture to reclaim itself.
Yeah, me too.
And to start anew.
I see.
To start as it was always supposed to start. One of the things that I learned in Landmark, when you want to build something that's great, you can't build it on top of something that already exists. Like, if you have a house, but what you really want is this house, and then you add things onto your existing house to try to make it like that house, you might have improved the existing house, but you're not getting that thing that you wanted. That design that you wanted. The only way you're going to be able to make that happen on that property is if you level the whole structure and then rebuild with a fresh foundation all over again. And then it can be that thing.
Yeah.
You know, when I look at hip hop right now, it's like looking at a regentrified neighborhood. We can sit here and we can keep trying to fix the houses and upgrade the houses to make the houses look better. Or we could just pay attention to the fact that the house costs less than the property that it sits on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's plenty of houses out there in the world right now where they're going for 1.5 million, 1.7 million in certain parts of, you know, high metropolises. And then you get there to go look at the house and the house looks like a piece of crap. But it's still so expensive. And the reason why is because the land is valuable. The structure on it is not.
So remove it.
So guess what most people have to do when they go and buy these properties? They got to go and get a new mortgage so that they can demolish the old house, build a dope, fly new crib. And then the value of the house can better add up to the value of the land. And now you got something.
Yeah.
That's how you get a neighborhood to go from looking like a bunch of shanties to a bunch of amazing villas. And I think we need to look at hip hop in that way. I don't know. Does that make sense to everybody?
It makes sense to me. Side note, and I'm finna talk about some scandal real quick. I'm gonna do a video about it. The guy who went up against, because you're talking about real estate and rebuilds, right? The guy who went up against Karen Bass for mayor of LA, he what's his name? Richard. Oh God, what's his name? He's a real estate guy. And I think I talked about this when those fires were happening at the beginning of the year. Remember the Palisades, right? So I told you, I said, look at him, because now he's going to be over rebuilding one of that area where off Sunset, where, you know, remember went by there and it's a bunch of businesses and they all got burnt down. He's rebuilding that. So when you said that and when you talked about that, I just thought about that analogy. But you can't have a crook come in and rebuild. No. It should be mom and pop. I'll just say that the future music industry.
No Diddy and no disrespect, but they gonna nigga rig it.
Oh damn.
They'll start making the foundation look like, and next thing you know, they're gonna start pouring at the wrong time. They're not gonna make sure stuff's sealed off. They're gonna be sitting up there trying to figure out how to put an extra $5,000 into their pocket by getting cheaper lumber. And then the next thing you know, here come the termite. Yeah, no, it's gotta be somebody with integrity.
Exactly. But that was a great analogy. It's like someone said in the comments, that was a great analogy. All right, so what comes next for you, Jaguar? What comes next?
Tomorrow. Nothing changes for me, that's for sure. That's the only thing new for me tomorrow. Another day and another way to keep fighting for the justice that we all deserve.
Rick Caruso, that's the name. Yes, thanks, Sassy Chick. I'm glad I got people that are on their feet with it. But Sassy Chick knows Rick Caruso is a man.
And salute to Martha. Martha on it.
Oh yeah, Martha. Yeah. Man, everybody. I appreciate all y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, but we're gonna wrap up here in a minute. And yeah, if anybody got any questions, go ahead. You got questions for Jag? Got questions for me? Go ahead with it. And I'm gonna give the little closing statement. And y'all, you know, the truth don't die. It multiplies. It's like baby kids, you know. The truth does not die. It multiplies.
I'm telling you, I'm about to take some of my truths and whisper them into a bottle and just put a cork in that hole, seal it off. Because apparently my truths, they get more valuable and delicious with time.
It's like wine. Okay. It's like wine. It's like a Chianti. All right. That's what's up. Yeah, hey, I appreciate y'all. You say great topics. I'm just trying to bring something different. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I'm just trying to bring something different.
This is the thing. When you're a real content creator, when you're a real journalist, when you're a real researcher, when you're a real investigator, you have the ability to talk about multiple different topics at different times. You don't have to keep talking about the same thing every day, all week, all month, all summer, all fall, all year, all holidays. You can talk about other things.
You can. Because and Jag, you can talk about Jag, and then you can also talk about Jaguar Wright, and
I'm not a one-trick pony. I can talk about more than Jag, even though when I do, no one shows up.
Yeah, man. People, yeah, man. Y'all, we appreciate y'all for listening. And every time I throw something out there, I'm just trying to raise the consciousness of the people. Real talk,
And we want to raise the bar in our sector.
There we
We
go.
want to make sure that we keep elevating. The one thing that sucks about those troll wars is that it takes a while for you to realize you're on a hamster wheel. When it no longer has value, you leave it alone and you move on. And that's what we're doing. And salute, Auntie Leah's got a live. Y'all need to get
let's
over
go.
there and check that out.
We about to go.
And Natanya Rubin is also going live as well.
Like we going
our
over
community,
there.
we got places to go. We got places to go, whether we live on time or just kill it in the replay game.
Yeah, it is.
We don't got to be stuck on no troll wheel.
Nope.
We can just field trip our way through our sector. This is where we at.
All right, we're gonna sign off. I'm gonna sign off with an old oldie but goodie how I used to sign off on my Wolf Tickets radio back day. But I'm gonna just say everything that we've laid out today. You've given the points. It should be a reconsideration of Jaguar Wright's claim and a public acknowledgement of her perspective by Piers Morgan. It could be a step towards balanced journalism and support for whistleblowers. All right, so we out of here. I'm gonna sign it off like I used to back day. I used to say something like this. I said, where is it at? Hold on, I wanted to.
It's always to be continued, Precious. It's always to be continued.
And what I used to say, yeah, we'll run it back. We'll run it back. But what I used to always say. Till banning MP3s, these lyrics are weaponized, who raise the consciousness of the people. That's what they threatened by. Is that a lie? Nah, that's all real. Y'all be good, all right?
Wolf gang, where you at, man?